All right. Here we are.
He's back. I'm back.
We're
It's July
back.
11th, 2024. Welcome aboard, everybody. To listen to the Crushing Iron podcast. This is episode 781.
Yeah. I'm back. I think of Michael Jordan and I think of Slim Shady.
Not Brett Favre.
Well, nah, not really. I mean, that one doesn't stand out as much.
Yeah, he came back a few times.
But
yeah,
wait, Shady's back.
Yeah, Shady's back. Yeah, that's the best one you could do. Maybe we'll launch that in a couple of weeks. Maybe for podcast 800. I'm sure we've been working on a lot of behind the scenes work for 800. It's going to be a big celebratory event. We're going to have just it's going to be more
an
of the same.
Event planner. I can't believe you hired an event planner.
I did hire an event planner.
Yeah.
We're going to send all of our favorite listeners an edible fruit basket with a C26 in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Party planners. They called me the other day.
Yeah, you're going to get a save the date with Mike and I sitting in like a field by a creek, and we're both going to be like sitting down with our legs like semi-crossed with our backs leaning against each other. It's kind of like a senior picture. And it's just got Mike and I, is on the top. It's got, thank you for a great last 800 episodes. Please join us on this date. Yeah, so it's kind of like a save the date. So if you can't, if you want to and you want to make your day, just take a moment, close your eyes, and try to picture that.
We still got that event tent that we could use.
We do. We do.
We used it once.
Yeah, we could pop up in Des Moines. Meet us halfway and have a little bit of a party. But no, we'll be there. We'll be here just like we are today. We'll be there next week and the years to come. So if it's your first time tuning in today, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. I know you have quite a lot of options in the Triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. Time is very valuable. We appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps and also a lot of race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through in life, not just as human beings, but also as coaches and athletes ourselves. Mike and I also talk frequently about what our own athletes are going through. He and I work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level athletes in the very first 5K or sprint triathlon, all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to world championships, and everyone in between from all over the globe. We'll use the feedback loop we have with them and Training Peaks, emails, text messages, and the like to drive the discussion of the day. We also like to utilize our Facebook group, and you can search that. It's a Crushing Iron Group. Answer multiple questions and let you right in. Awesome people, fantastic community, solid resource, and a sport that is oftentimes way overcomplicated, way too confusing. It is a safe, solid, actionable space to get great information from seasoned veterans who will provide information, answer questions to hopefully allow you to avoid some of the pitfalls we've all made along the way. We go in there about once every 3 to 6 weeks, do a little bit of Q&A, take the pulse of the community, answer as many questions as we can live on the podcast. But that is it. We have no sponsors, we have no ads, but we are very transparent about our agenda, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Yeah. And we were talking about it beforehand, but it just occurred to me that I think the Tour de France has saved my race every year for the last 10 years or whatever. Because
you jacked for cycling in July, right?
Yeah, it gets me kind of going on the bike, and I don't know. There it is. But we both watched yesterday. We were both on the edge of our seats, evidently. And spoiler alert, but it was yesterday. So
it was yesterday. So if you haven't watched it, we don't want to Knuth you here.
But he'll be coming later.
Oh yeah, he'll be in full force. If you haven't watched the stage yesterday and you got it recorded, just listen to us on Friday or Saturday. But yeah, it was. I've been doing a pretty good job of because right now Wimbledon's on. So to me, it's like I got all my bases covered. I'm watching Wimbledon in the morning while I'm working, and then later at night I'll turn on the tour. And I didn't check anything. I had no idea what was going on. And dude, yesterday was just awesome. It was one of my favorite stages I think I've ever watched. I know that's kind of prisoner in the moment speak right there, but it was for a it's not week one, but to be a week and a half in and seeing a stage like that, and then Pogacar go off the front like he did so far out, right? You're used to seeing him, they're in the mountains or in the Pyrenees or the Alps, and they're hitting the last big climb of the day, and that's when you see the attacks. And that's what I remember thinking last year. That's why I got bored sometimes last year, is watching, Vinnego had the lead. I think he got from a time trial, and he was just basically like shadowing and marking Pogacar the whole time. Wasn't making any attacks, wasn't trying to extend his lead. And it was just like, I was like, when are you guys going to go? Well, this has been totally different. Like, the gravel stage we talked about earlier this week, where Pogacar and his team tried to go off the front again. Like, I think it was like 40 or 50 miles out. And it wasn't the same distance, but yesterday was a lot of the same. And it was, it was really, really, really awesome to watch and fun. And I think a pretty good lesson too for a lot of us.
Yeah, it could. And, like I was saying, man, I just think it's so fascinating that the two best riders in the world were out there at the end of that stage. And I always try to imagine myself watching, one of these days, I'd like to go watch a stage or something like that. But, that's just one of those things you say. But it'd be cool as hell. But if you're out there just kind of partying all day or whatever, hanging out, and then you look up and the two best riders in the world are neck and neck for the last, 5 or whatever, however long that was. That was cool as shit, man. And I don't know. It was one of those things where you said you might have a favorite, and
I do.
I think both those guys are interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I like them both. I think, gosh, I don't know. It's a tough one.
He's definitely got, I think it's very, like when you look at both their personalities, like, Pogacar to me, like he just likes to race. He just likes to race on his bike. And which I think is also awesome and fun to watch. I mean, watching him descend, even the commentators were like, I can't watch. They were like, I think they even said, one of them said, I can't watch right now. I don't want to watch, because they're going so fast down those descents with switchbacks. And most triathletes are on their brakes and they're going downhill on Zwift. So to watch them do, to watch them do that was just unreal. And it is. I think, you can take some things, like their attitudes are definitely different. I think Vinnego is a lot more of a cerebral racer. Not that Pogacar's not smart and knows what he's doing, right? Or his team. But I think he seems like one of those guys that, even if the moment calls for a restraint, he's going to have a hard time taking it, right? Not trying to go for the win. And Vinnego seems the exact opposite. He's like, I don't care, because after the gravel stage, right? And I thought it was really interesting hearing him talk. Obviously this is his first race back. This is the first time he's put a bib on since his crash in April, and he's working his way in. The gravel stage he was on. He wasn't even on his own bike, and he seems to me like he doesn't care what you say. Because I think even after the race on the gravel stage, Pogacar basically said, like, I think he's scared of me. Mm. And Rimp, the other guy, I can't remember his last name. I almost said Rimpy, but that's a hockey player. They basically like, he's not willing to do the work. I think he's scared of us. And we'll listen to the commentating, and one of his coaches like, I'm not scared. I was just being smart. And I think that's like a really hard thing to grasp when, I think as triathletes and as any athlete, no matter what sport you're in, it's really hard to, and he's doing this on a world stage. Right? He's in the Tour de France. He's the defending champion, wearing bib number 1. And his thing is, I got to show off. I got to be out in the front. I got to be, be showing my jersey for the sponsors. Everybody's watching me. Everybody's expecting me to do this. I probably should be, because but I'm playing it smart today. I'm on somebody else's bike. Right. And what I pictured him saying on that gravel stage was what we talk about a lot in like 70.3 and Ironman racing, which is I feel like you could almost see it in his head saying, not yet, not yet, not yet. But yesterday was yet. He showed that he had it, and he went absolutely into the tank. But if you look back on the day before, there is no way I don't think he would have been able to do that and make that gap back up to Pogacar and win the stage in a sprint finish, which he wasn't supposed to be, if he had been stupid the day before and just decided to do what everyone else wanted him to do. I'm sure everybody wanted it. Even as I was watching, I was like, please, because I was cheering for him. I don't not like Pogačar, but Hayden likes Pogačar and I like Vingegaard, so we kind of go back and forth. And I was like, I wanted to see him go, because even last year I got kind of frustrated. Like he on the look backs, keep looking back, waiting for him. I was like, just go. But as someone who's not invested in the win, my ego is the one that's saying, just go.
Yeah.
But to see the patience that the guy's got to play the long game. And the thing is he's getting fitter with each stage. And I just to see him show that restraint the day before and to come out yesterday and to dig so far and to see what it meant to him after the race, it's kind of like, I think he just gained confidence. But he wouldn't have done it if he had not shown restraint the day before. And Pogačar, he is definitely more fun to watch. 100%.
Oh, that dude.
The dude just like, he shoots himself out of a cannon going up these hills. You can just tell like he loves to absolutely race. And doesn't care where it is or what bike or what train. He just loves to race, and the dude loves to win. And that might get in his way sometimes, probably. Like he might burn a couple of his, legendary championship biscuits along the way, but that's who he is. And so I think you look at them both, and I think triathletes are that same too, right? Like you have to kind of, there comes a point to where you have to, yes, do things intelligently, right? But there's also comes a point to where I think it's also very important for an athlete to just kind of honor who they are, right? Because if you ask Pogačar to race like Vingegaard, he'd probably be bored to death. He probably wouldn't love it as much.
Yeah, it's true.
And if you ask Vingegaard to he probably wouldn't do as well, right? So I think there's a great balance and recognizing your, not necessarily your weaknesses, right? But areas that you could probably improve on, but also honoring your strengths. And like you said, like we talked about last week, is what makes it fun for you, right? Vingegaard, maybe fun for him is not winning or not wearing the yellow jersey until the very last day, right? Although Pogačar, I think the dude would wear it 365 days a year. And so I think honoring kind of who you are and your mentality, I think is a huge piece in success and allowing you to perform well for a long time, even if you might be giving something up here and there randomly.
Yeah. Well, I was watching some post-race coverage in one of the cycling legacy guys. I can't remember his name, but he was like, Pogačar's his own worst enemy a lot of times. And it really does make sense. But then again, like you're saying, I mean, those guys have won the last 4 together. So
it
proves that both things work, right? And having fun and just being yourself. And I'm kind of like in a dual world here because I'm also watching Unchained before bed. So it's about last year. And it was weird because if you remember last year, and I wasn't this close to it to remember it, but right before the last real stage, the last big stage, the guy from Jumbo Visma, the coach or whatever, like he came out in the press they thought it was to get the pressure off of Vingegaard because they had been talking about him doping and all this other shit after that time trial. Yeah. And so the manager, coach or whatever for Jumbo, he came out and said that he saw the French team drinking beers and shit all over the place during the race. And the French coach was just furious in this thing. And this is sorry, but it's a whatever. There's so much cycling on. This isn't a spoiler necessarily because it happened last year. But anyway, he said, he was talking about Jumbo Visma, and he was like, these guys are so mechanical. They don't care about life. They're all about the numbers and all that. It's like, they're just like science, this, all that. And he goes, we race with effort and goosebumps over here. and I was like, wow, that's cool. Because that stage, if you remember, it was when that Pinot, from the guy from France, was out leading. And that climb with, we talk about how going to Wisconsin, there's a couple of hills where you ride between people and shit, and it's a little like Tour de France. I mean, this shit is incredible to me, man. He's leading that race, and this whole country is out there just fucking crowding in on him, and he's riding up there, and this guy's talking about riding with effort and goosebumps, and it totally was, But the same thing, it's like, so, and then the guy from Jumbo is like, I don't care what people think of me. I want to win. And So it's just cool as hell, man, because I think like that Pino, he just became, I didn't even really know much about him last year, but after watching the interviews and stuff, he became my favorite guy because he was just like, he's a farmer and he's just out there trying to have fun on the race course, because it doesn't always win. But man, what he said, when I came out of that climb, he said my ears were ringing. And then I'm on a downhill, nobody's around. He said it was just dead silent right when I got done. It was the weirdest feeling ever. But that's just some cool shit. I just like the energy of like, because he just went for it, man, and that's what Pogača does a lot. It seems like he's just like, he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to go. But you're right. Vingegaard is like, he's just how he held on to that was just unbelievable to me. Because I thought Pogača was just wait and go, and then you're not going to get him. And then somehow, some way.
Oh, for sure. And I love what you said about, we're here for the goosebumps. I mean, I think, it really is like you see the guys that are, there for just, the whole entire tour, one stage makes like their entire career.
Oh, yeah.
To win a stage in the tour. And you got other guys that are there, their only job is to watch out for the GC favorite on their team. That's it. They're never going to win a stage. They're never going to, wear a jersey. Their only job is to keep the GC concern on their team, quote unquote, safe, right? Or pull him up to where he needs to be. That is their only job. And so I think it's just a really interesting, like when you look at the makeup of the peloton and the different people you've got on each team, right? You got the sprinters, you got the climbers, you got the domestiques. Everybody has a role and they totally buy into it. It's just kind of who they are. But they're also making the best out of it. Right. Like you see, I find it that one of the most fascinating things to me is watching the sprinters struggle so mightily in the climbs, right? They're just off the back, like sometimes 20 to 30 minutes riding alone just to make it to the stage and barely make the time cut off. And sometimes there's a guy that comes back from the team to help, like Cavendish on day 1 and day 2, to help pace him back up so he actually makes the cutoff. That was their only job for the day. And, some of those guys are so strong, they're probably like, in low heart rate zone 1, climbing up. And then it's like, man, it's on day 1 of the tour. And I think it's, and we're the first ones to tell you, right? There are definitely proven ways to train that will make you better, fitter, and faster, and keep you healthier. Like that's just a fact. But at the same time, like I think it's also super important to really just honor who you are and the makeup that you have. But the thing is in doing that, you also have to recognize when there may or may not be shortcomings. Right? Like the guy said, Pogača is his own worst enemy. Yeah, but he's also his own 2-time Tour de France champion. Right? So it's like, you take the guy in the mentality that drove him to do that is the same mentality that, may or may not, right, up for debate, get him in trouble sometimes. Same thing with Vingegaard, right? There have probably been times where he could have attacked, but he didn't because he was just playing it safe and probably could have gained time. You'll never know. But it's also the same mentality, same approach, and same personality trait that's won him 2 tours. And so I think you have to always be, I think as an athlete, right, no matter what you're training for, what distance it is, I think one of the biggest areas of where athletes create their own problems is trying to be someone that they're not, right? By adding in too much volume that doesn't fit in their life, signing up for an Ironman when they got no business signing up for an Ironman because they don't have the time. Right? Trying to do more intensity because their friends do it in intensity, but that doesn't really work for them. I think because there's so much information out there, there's so many posts and even podcasts like us, right? And Strava and things you can track, leaderboard. I mean, it's everything, right? And I think a lot of times we get really, really, caught up in trying to be someone else in what we are doing, right? And I think that gets in the way. But at the same time, like if you're very happy and content and right objective about, for example, like, you want to you're a person that likes to train on more of a rivet, on more of the pointy end of the quality over quantity, right? Like you don't want to go frequently, but when you go, you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But you have to do that very carefully, and you need to pull your volume back, right? You can't go intensity for 8 hours and bump up volume and do intensity for 16. You got to recognize that's 8 hours is who you are. And on race day, you got to realize that while you might have a somewhat good performance relative to your ability, relative to the training that you did, you probably left a little bit on the table. But on the flip side, would you even have been at the table had you have tried to do it another way, someone else's way?
Yeah.
You become disinterested and you don't want to do it. It's just not that. Like, and so I think we lose sight of that a lot is you see what works, you hear what works, you see people's results, you watch people's races, you hear a podcast interview with a pro triathlete or pro coach, and all of a sudden you want to be that person or do that and have that result. Like that's just not, it's not sustainable, and it's not you. And I think that's just a really important lesson, right? It's I think again, both of those guys in the tour are just because they're just polar opposites in a lot of ways. But they're also the two best on the planet. And so it does it and you see it in the pro in triathletes, right? Patrick Lange, like you never see him in the front pack in swimming. You never see him in the front pack in cycling. He's just that guy that runs everyone down, pretty much either everyone or everyone except for one person. Never will be at the front of the show until the very end it matters. He's never going to be the guy who leads the swim. And the same point, you got guys, they're going to always lead out the swim. That's who they are. It's who you are. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes it fun. And I think that even at the pro level in every sport, you have to be, and you look at like some of the greatest of all times, like that's why you would have never seen Jordan or Kobe come off the bench. Never, mm-hmm. Right? Never going to be a role player, never going to come off the bench. It's not who they were. And some people hated them. Some people thought they were selfish, and some people thought they were egomaniacs, right? And I'm sure they had I'm sure that, we all got faults. I'm sure they had plenty of them, but that's also what made them the best players ever.
Yeah.
And, so I think LeBron James, although he's not my favorite athlete ever, everyone wanted to be Jordan, and he couldn't have a more opposite personality than Jordan.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you have to respect how he's kind of taken his own personality and been his own man. And I think that, and that's true in all sports, right? I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan just for the fact, he plays for the Jets now, so I can't really cheer for him as a Dolphins fan, but I appreciate his being, his confidence and who he is and what he believes in, and just being being your own man, being your own woman, being your own whatever in whatever sport. Like, I just think that goes a long way, and we get caught up so much in training and doing what other people are doing. And, I want to do this, and, I get caught up in a Facebook page and someone else is doing this, and I think I need to do that. And like you'd be freaking miserable. You would be miserable doing that. And so, I think owning your personality, honoring who you are at the core, and not trying to, do we all have flaws in areas that we can improve on in training? Yes, we all got those. But when it comes like your mentality, and I think as coaches, right, that's why you always have to kind of honor that too. If you give somebody, if you try to rein somebody in too much, they're not going to be able to race because you're taking them out of race mode. And you got to let the ones race who really want to race, and the ones that want to be really strategic and really cerebral, you got to let them be smart too. And it's all about maximizing your strengths to the best of the ability, and recognizing you might have a small loss here and there of performance, but at the same time, the best ability is availability. And that's just not injury wise, right? The best ability means you're excited to train. You training is fun. You get to train. You don't have to train. And you want to keep doing it, not you're tired of being forced in a box that you don't fit in. Man.
Yeah, I think this is huge because, you got to be you, right? When you're saying that is like, I just relate. I think a lot of people will come into this sport or whatever, and even, we look at this analogy we're making with Pogačar and Vingegaard, and I kind of like gravitate, like I'm so curious about Vingegaard's approach. It's like it really seems. I know that's smart, but I'm definitely more Pogačar because I'm sort of this. That's why I'm always talking about these things like in race recovery and finding, because I'm more up and down, like my normalized. I'm sure I haven't really rode with power a lot in my life, but my normalized I'm sure would be a little bit way out of whack, compared to average and stuff. And because I look for recovery opportunities, and it's like you're talking about Jordan. I'm sure he's probably got, a game plan, but if he sees an opening within that first minutes, he's going to go throw a dunk down, like when he's not even ready yet, And a lot of times I used to go, and I know you talk about it a lot as far as like average pace and stuff like that, not using it in a race, but I still use it sometimes because it's just a fire. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I know my body so well. And also I like to take chances because I think most people have more in them than they think a lot of times. And to me, it's kind of like a fire out there. It's just setting a fire a little bit sometimes. And because I didn't come from endurance background, that's just what I'm more used to. I'm more used to kind of like burning a little bit of a match and then kind of, I guess like soccer or something, you kind of bust your ass down the field and then you kind of just cruise for a little while and then you can bust it again. It's sort of inconsistent approach. And that's kind of what Pogačar reminds me of. I know he kind of lays back a little bit, but on that gravel stage or whatever, he went after it. He just kept going and going and going. And obviously he can do stuff like that, and it's a fine line. That's the thing, is like, he obviously knows when he's walking it. And if he has to pull back a little bit, he will, and he'll do that. And I think it's just important to really understand who you are and what makes you tick. I mean, getting out here, and it's really hard for a lot of people just to kind of lay back and be, Mr. Zone 2. And while that's kind of got a proven history, and I think it's definitely important, sometimes people just, you've got athletes, and I'm sure just, all right, that sounds good, coach. And then they just go out and blast it and they do well, and that shit happens. You brought up Aaron Rodgers, it's like that guy, I've been reading this book on and off. It's called You Are the Placebo, and it's all about the mind and stuff like that. And they brought up Aaron Rodgers and about how much he said, I think when he was like 6 or 8 or something like that, somebody got in his head about visualization. And he talks about how he visualizes the whole game all the time, and before he's even done certain things, he's done them in his mind, and how it's not unfamiliar to him. So he's ready for things like whatever. He's got to roll out and there's a guy in his, like just throwing certain passes and he sees them happen. And these are the kind of things that I imagine Pogačar does, it's like, all right, he can see himself he's probably like, I'm just going to leave everybody right here. And this is how it's going to be. And, through experience or visualization or whatever the case may be, there's no doubt that, especially Ironman is more of a tortoise versus the hare kind of thing. But sometimes the hare has got to let it out a little bit, but it's almost like marrying both, the best of both worlds in your own skin.
I think one of the biggest like takeaways, and you've always been good at this, I think it's been interesting, like to follow. I could never train like you, and you could never train like me.
Yeah.
It would drive us both crazy.
I think so.
Yet, I think in the last 6 to 7 years, we've both taken sprinkles and some seasoning from each other to our own. And I think that is a way to look at all training, right? Is you don't have to reinvent the wheel and be somebody you're not, right? But you can slightly change something or take something and make it your own, right? That fits into your mantra, your way of life, your way of training, right? And I think, to me, it's like, the diets never work because they're too strict, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't make a diet you can't sustain because you'll end up worse off than before. You'll diet, lose 10, and then revolt, put back on 20. And I think in so many areas in life, like I think the only two areas in life that, or the one area in life that I have to be very, very, matter of fact about is not drinking, right? That's black and white for me. But a lot of other things in life, like we talk about always being in the gray, like there, you can shift towards the black, you can shift towards the white, but it leaves you areas to go. You can't, I think it's unhealthy in a lot of ways to be just 100% concrete footed into one camp of training or one camp of way of life or one, but that's kind of how our country got here. Right. But so you look at, taking things as, and that's our podcast, right? Is don't copy and paste it. Just take a little bit of it, make it into your own, right? Take a little bit of ice and sprinkle a little bit of the Crushing Iron podcast onto your training week and make it your own, because it's also more fun and you're usually more invested. Right. But as coaches, like, and I told this to an athlete, I think it was last week, and they went out on a Friday. They went out on Friday and they ran like 20 minutes longer and way harder. And they were like, but I was feeling great, and I was running with a buddy of mine, and I just wanted to drop him and just wanted to give it. And so when I commented, I said, as a coach, one of my jobs is to make your fuck ups more purposeful. And what I meant by that was his training, what he did that day wasn't a fuck up. It was great, but my job now is to make the Saturday and Sunday different to allow his Friday to be purposeful. And so you got to have, you want to have the freedom. I think that's something a lot of triathletes are afraid of is freedom. And to go out and to take that and own it, and then be confident also that your coach can adjust to it, right? Because it is like, some people just, and this, and I know this with the athletes that work, some people, they just are who they are, right? They are going to always go harder than you think, and some are always going to go slower than you think. Some need to be reined in, some need to be, pushed forward. That's just who they are, And you also have to understand, like, some people are gonna. I always kind of talk about when I coach swimming, is I always tell people to aim, 5 to 6 inches away from where I want them, because in reality, if you aim really, really wide, or really, really, if you try to get your early vertical performance, or like if you do it way earlier than you should, or farther out than you should, the reality is you're probably end up right where you are. And, so when you look at athletes and you look at training and you look at how people perform, like some people, they just are who they are. So you have to position them in a way that makes their efforts correct. If I said to an athlete who always likes to push themselves, if I say go moderate, then their moderate's going to actually be a tempo. And you look at that. And so a lot of it's mind games. And so next time, instead of telling this athlete, if I want them to run moderate, and I know they're going to run tempo, but I want them to run zone 2, then what I put in next time is, all right, 40-minute recovery pace. And they'll run zone 2. So they'll do it exactly where you want them to do it, just in a different way. And again, like that's about learning and listening and paying attention to athletes. And, or if you want an athlete to go zone 2, but they're a person who really is, I just don't want to get my heart rate too high, and I'm afraid that things are getting out of control, and they just have that very timid, very controlled, then don't give them zone 2, give them zone 3. And then they'll run zone 2. And that's just, again, like you can't, it's hard to change, nor do you really want to change that person, right? As a coach, it's not, you don't want to fit that person in your box. You kind of have to take your cardboard box and shape it around the athlete. It might look like a perfect square. It might look like a rectangle. It might look like the fort my almost 8-year-old built. It could look like anything. But the point is that you make it the way you want to make it. And if you don't want to do this, then you can't. We've talked about this before, right? Is if an athlete hates a certain session, there's a difference in hating and not being good at. And I think that's a good message, right? Is that a lot of athletes will say, or two different comments, right? Or one is, I hated this workout. I hate these kind of sessions. Okay, well, I'm probably not going to give it to you again, right? I'll give you something different and probably give something love because I know you'll do it. That's a lot different than someone saying, I really struggled at this. I can tell I'm not very good at it. Well, then you're probably going to get more because you want to be real rounded. You want to be able to do it better. Big difference, right? And so when you look at, again, you don't want to make somebody someone that they're not. But I do think that within that, you need to press people to be like, I'll give you a perfect example is, we're doing the online swim school right now. And I had an athlete after week 1 email me, hey, I just don't think this is for me. I don't like the swims. It's nothing you're doing. Great program. I'm just not going to do it. And I emailed back and I was like, well, tell me why. And we had a few back and forth and eventually they were like, all right, I'm gonna stick with it. And so instead of doing these swims exactly like I had them with some rest intervals, she shortened the rest intervals just a little bit, not much, but enough to make it to where they were still getting in what I wanted to get done, but it fit more of their personality. And they were very, very, very different swims than what they had done before. But that's really how most people get where they're on swimming. They're afraid to change. And they stuck with it. And I definitely wasn't sure they weren't going to quit again. And then retested yesterday and dropped 5 seconds off their CSS pace in 5 weeks. Wasn't that she liked it, right? Liked to get better. But it also wasn't that they hated it, but also saw some good in it, right? And so I think there's always again, like we like things, especially triathletes, right? We like things the way we like them. We don't like change. We would rather not change and stay the same than to change and get better in some way, sure, because it's our comfort zone, right? And so I'm sure that, athletes who hate going 1 minute all out and athletes that hate going for 20 minutes steady, there's progress to be made in all areas, but you don't have to live in the opposite to think that you're making improvement, right, on your weakness. So again, like I think you honor who you are and you explore ways to improve the areas you can improve.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's longevity too, right? Because I was thinking back to, when we first started hanging out and training together back in the day. It was like, yeah, I'm definitely more into going 1 minute all out than I am for 20 minutes easy. That's just how I rolled and rolled for many years. But at some point it's like, you just don't have the mental bandwidth and the physical bandwidth. I'm getting, we're all getting older, right? But so now it's kind of about taking some of that and just retaining some of what I used to be and trying to find that right balance, because the way I used to train, there's just, a lot of people, it's kind of that one and done mentality almost. And it definitely, I think, works. I had one of my better races just coming out of nowhere, or seasons, I guess. But it's just hard to keep going. And it's just not enjoyable at some point. And I still fight that all the time. But like you're saying, man, I just try to incorporate little things that I know are probably good for me. It's just very difficult to, be casual. But then last night, actually went out on the sup board, Emily and I did. And, it's like you get on a sup board and like for me, the first thing I want to think is just like, all right, let's just go see how fast we can go on this damn thing. It's just like the natural tendency. It was a beautiful night, just hanging out, and just started paddling. And it wasn't going very fast. It was nice and calm. And then jump in the water for a little bit, get back on, ride a little bit more. Out there over an hour, sup board, stand up paddleboard. It's not a great workout, but man, it's like good for standing there, balance and core. But anyway, it just felt awesome. And when I got done, I was just kind of like more comfortable in my skin a little bit. And I think a lot of times that was my problem or my issue, or a lot of our issues, I guess, when we always want to go fast. It's sort of like, I just want to get out of my skin or something. And it's an interesting analogy because, there was a quote I saw, and it was, the happiest people I know are slowing down, not speeding up. And that just really resonated with me. It kind of all hit last night for me. It sort of shifted my paradigm, at least for a little while. I was kind of like happier cooking dinner. It was taking a long time, pissing me off. Normally, like, God, but like seriously, it really boils back down to everything I think about, which is I really love to be in the moment.
Right.
And I think sometimes it's easier to be in the moment when you're hammering something because that's, it's just taking everything you got and you can't let your brain start thinking about, bills or taxes or any of that other shit. You're just going. But if you're going slow and you're kind of relaxed and, it's just a different thing. And I think it's so important in endurance sports is be able to be in that moment. It's always been so difficult for me. It's my biggest desire. And maybe I need to just let it go, So I'm not good at it, but I want to be good at it. But maybe I just need to turn it over to the higher power, man. You know what I mean? Seriously, it's like it's the same kind of thing, man. It all weaves its way in and out of everything, and I do agree with that statement. The happiest people are the ones I see slowing down and not trying to go too fast, because they're just like in it, And that's how do you get that into your workouts?
Yeah. And knowing, because I think everyone also has like, a different flow state.
Mm-hmm.
Some people find peace in the steady, the hard runs that really bring it out. Some of them feel more at flow, more at peace doing the long, slow. And that's different for everybody. Right. And I think we all, like you like the 1 minutes. I like the 8 to 12. That's kind of my jam. Give me 8 to 12. I can grind out the ones, not so much. That's just I'm not that great at it. You still got to do them some, but you can find a little bit of, happiness in the all outs, but that's just not where you are. And I think that's also okay. Right. But I think, again, people always like to use the phrase, like 80-20 or, eat mostly this and less of this. And it's generally pretty good, but you could also kind of take that to training. 80% of the time, stick with the sessions you love. 20% of the time, make sure you weave in the ones that you might not love, but you can like enough to know that the work you're doing will make the workouts you love be better. And I think that's a great way to frame, when we send out these questionnaires and forums to new athletes and like, what do you like the least? And it's like, running or long runs or bike intervals or, hard swimming. It's good to know that, right, as a coach, but at the same time, like, you have to remind people that, you don't have to, nor do we expect you to love all sessions. That's not how it's supposed to be. But a way to frame some of these sessions you don't like is to frame it as, I might not like this session, it might not be my favorite, I might dread it, but what it's also going to do is knowing that when I do it, it's going to improve and make the sessions that I love go better, feel better, go longer, go harder, right? You might hate active recovery rides or zone 1 and zone 2 rides because you love going hard. But if you don't take those active recovery days, those easy sessions, then you won't be able to go as hard as you want or as frequent as you want. I really love riding and I really want to be a better biker in triathlon, but I hate swimming. Well, you better learn to at least dislike it less, because when you improve your swim, you improve your bike, right? Same with running. I love running, but I hate cycling. I can't figure out why. I can't put it together on race day. Well, you better learn to ride better, because the better you ride, the better you'll run. And so and that's why the sport's so great. There's so many opportunities. I like going short. I like going long. I like going hard. I like going slow. Love to bike and run. Hate to swim. Love to swim. Hate to run. There's a million different ways to mix match it, which is also why the sport's so great, because I also think that our mentalities, just like our taste buds, change every so years. I'm really feeling going short and fast right now. I'm really feeling going long right now. I'm really feeling this. I'm really feeling that. There's a lot of ways to do it. And so being open to that and also, which again, is why the sport's so great, because it's got endless opportunities of focus. dabble in this, be great at that, or be well-rounded, do just a little bit of this. It's just a really great way to approach training and keep it fun. Like you said, it's about longevity, right? The longer you do the sport, the better you are at it. That's it, right? If you don't like it, you don't hate it, you're too hard on yourself and you're not having fun, well, you're going to do less of it, and less of it for less years. And less of it for less years is never going to be better than more of it for more years. And to me, that's the key and the ticket when you're looking at how to unlock someone's potential. It's not trying to unlock their DNA or what kind of muscle phenotype they are, or what they need the most work on in their VO2 max, their VLA. It's not that stuff. If you want to really unlock someone's potential, figure out what makes them tick. Figure out what makes them tick all the way around the clock, not just a quarter of the way through. What makes you tick? And then what can keep you ticking every second, every minute, every hour, every day. And that's how you build things together. And I think that's just, trying to make yourself tick to someone else's watch, like a lot of people get caught up doing, is a great way to go nowhere. And so, find what makes you tick. Stick with that. Embrace it, love it. Learn you gotta handle the other things, right? That might not be your favorite, but it'll make it better. And I think when you look at swim, bike, and run, and fueling, and recovery, and equipment, and diet, there's a million different ways to make you click and to make you feel the way that you want to feel. And again, you got to remember, right? It's your journey, not somebody else's. So if you're copy and pasting someone else's journey to your own, or you're trying to live someone else's life and someone else's training and someone else's race schedule, someone else's times, someone else's reality, you're not going to know what yours is, and two, you're going to find little to no fulfillment in trying to live someone else's life and someone else's journey. And just the same thing, like some people like to slow down, and you tell some people to slow down, and that to them, that's like the worst thing ever. I can't handle it. They like to speed up. And so there's I talked a lot about pride in the process last week. There's a lot of pride in that process too, is slowing down a little bit, speeding up a little bit, but throttle back and forth, right? Don't be so all in one way and all in the other. Know what you like, know what you don't like, work on the weaknesses, love what you love, and have fun doing it.
Yeah. No, I think that might be the best analogy to take from this podcast today, is that, a lot of people, including me, are probably more Pagasha in nature, and a lot of people can be Vingegaard. And I think it's like some of us need a little more Vingegaard, and some of us probably need a little more Pagasha to get our, it's sort of like, that's really it. It's like, I say that because I watch Vingegaard, and I'm like, man, I really appreciate how that guy, goes about his business. And it's sort of like you're envious of somebody you're not, and then you try to be somebody you're not, and that don't work either. It can be anything, you try to, you watch you join a course for how to do business, and it's, you're kind of envious about how somebody goes about their business, but it's not you,
Yep.
And, oh man, they're just driving 20 hours a day. I work, I sleep, you'll sleep when you're dead, that kind of shit. It's easy for me to get caught in that trap. But I know that maybe it's just that I need to, I'll sleep a little less when I'm dead, or whatever it is. It's like finding those things that different people have to kind of create your own recipe between them. And it's just the example in our head is those two guys that are leading the tour and have won the last 4, but they're kind of they're not obviously not polar opposites, because they're both unbelievable riders, and that was the one thing about Vingegaard. I think it was last night they were saying, the thing about him is a lot of times you got this whole team, sprinters and climbers, and they're all to help the general classification guy and the leader. But the problem with him is that he doesn't really have anybody that's a better climber than him. So he's always out there going to get that kind of shit on his own. So he's an unbelievable rider, obviously, and he's fast and sprinter. He's got everything. And Pogacar's got everything, but they go about it in sort of in a different way. One's a little more reckless, and the other one's a little more calculated. So why not mix them,
Yeah, there's weapons to be found in both, fun to be had in both, and obviously success to be found in both.
Yeah, I mean, the sport is interesting because I would tend to think most people are more Vingegaard. You know, it's like they need to figure out to find. You know, I have to. It seems like that's one of the things I have to do a lot. Is like, yeah, give it a shot. You know, let it out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you got to find that ceiling a little bit once in a while, at least so you know where it is.
Yeah, and I think you even heard that in the commentators last night. They're like, "This is the most I've ever seen him suffer." Talking about Vingegaard, because usually he's so stone-faced, so stoic, so calculated. He's always in the best position. But yesterday, I think he turned into Pogacar for a minute, and he was like, "I gotta let it all. I gotta go balls. I gotta let it all hang out, and I gotta go for it." And he got it, you know. And I think gave him it. And that's the thing, right? Is you don't have to become what you aren't, but I do think there's a whole lot of room to elevate your confidence by exploring an area that you're not and seeing yourself succeed in that area. Right. And I think we saw that from him.
Well, maybe they're doing it for each other too, you know, on some level. Because I mean, yeah, that's interesting to see him digging like that. You know, it's like, all right, now he knows. And like you're saying, he's probably riding himself into shape, and it could get interesting.
More to come on our Crushing Iron podcast TDF recap show. That was definitely, it was a good weave. It's good fun. It's always good to watch sports like that, endurance sports, in my opinion. So stay tuned for more great talk with your interview with Chuck Knuth, one of our coaches. So make sure you tune into that. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week. As always, have a great weekend. Race hard, race smart, and more importantly, be who you are. As always, go to our website, C26Triathlon.com, and there's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. You can also reach out to Mike and I if you need anything from us. He is available, Mike at C26Triathlon.com, or if you need anything from me specifically, I'm available at Robbie at C26Triathlon.com.
Yeah. And in the spirit of being who I am, honestly, I don't know shit about the Tour de France. So don't, take anything I say seriously. I mean, I am baffled by what's going on half the time. It's really interesting. You can watch it and they talk and you're like, what? That was ridiculous. I think it was that, quick sidebar. I thought this was really interesting. Last year, what's the guy, Karstensen? I can't remember. The guy who won a late stage and then he almost won the next one. It was a photo finish. He almost won 2 in a row out of nowhere. And he broke away on the second day. Again, they're like, what the hell, this guy? And his teammates, what they did, they're in the peloton. They couldn't get up to him either. And what they did is they got in the front of the peloton and slowed it down. I thought that was fascinating, man.
The team. I mean, it is one of the most underrated team sports out there. And I agree. Most people don't have any idea what the actual teamwork layout and how much of a team event it really is in cycling. Guys that'll never win a stage ever, but if their team wins or they're the guy on their team wins the whole Tour de France on the podium, it's a huge success. It is. It's really, really, really. Or to send guys up to be leaders and go off the front because they expect somebody to come up all the way at the end, right, and be there for the sprint, for the stage win. It's really, really interesting dynamic. Or even look at Cavendish, his win. Would he even have been able to have won that if on day 1 and 2, one of the stronger riders from the team didn't drop all the way back to pedal just 6 inches in front of him for hours?
Mm-hmm.
To save just that little bit of energy. So you take that fraction of energy that they saved, right, with drafting, especially on the hills, right, on 2 days, that fraction of energy saved that he was able to actually use to win his record-breaking stage win. It really is fascinating to watch and try to learn as much as you can from.
It is, man. Like I was saying on that thing when those guys are slowing down the peloton, they interviewed the guy. He goes, if I figured if I could maybe just slow that peloton down 1 second, it might matter at the end with the sprint. It's like, okay, 6 hours of ride and you're trying to slow 1 second off that. And it's like, It's fascinating.
Or the guys can go off the front and lead for 4 hours and 20 minutes and then get caught 20 meters before the finish line.
Unreal. It's just, those are the most exciting things to watch, is that peloton closing in. I can just imagine.
How much do you hate when they look backwards?
Yeah, I do. Well, you can, I don't know. I would like to see stats on that, but not, I mean, I don't know, a large percentage. I think once they start looking back, they're toasted.
Game's over. Yeah.
You know, it's like, but I get it. You know, you kind of, once they're closing though, it's, I really think that, I don't know who invented the Tour de France, but I just imagine, you know, sort of like Kona probably. Those guys just got together at a bar and just put some shit together. But the, you know, Tour's got all these weird, ethics, and there's all these different little things you're not supposed to, supposed to give the yellow jersey more room, and it's all this kind of stuff. And they have all these great little nuances. You know, you save 2 seconds on, off we get you 2 second credit today if you get to the hill, whatever. I bet these guys are just hammered, just like making up these crazy, like, let's just fuck with people and make it so complex. It's like the chessboard.
It really is.
It's got endless ways to try to figure out how to win.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so beautiful. I mean,
love it.
All right. What's the hardest sport? Swimming, biking, or running?
Oh, God. Yeah,
we'll do that some other time.
Somebody else to answer. Yeah, that's all we got. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
All right, man. See you. Welcome, my good friend Chuck.
Michael, how are you, sir?
Good, man. Good, man. It's is this we got to be coming up on we just passed our anniversary of meeting.
Yes, May, our anniversary, yes.
Yeah.
May of 2016, I believe.
May of 2016.
At the old Rev 3 Knoxville.
It's a sad day, man.
It is. That was such a great race.
Yeah, we had a good time, and I can't remember how we met, but it turned into a hell of a night after you got the podium, and you did the half that day. I did the Olympic, and I can't remember. I don't think that was the year I won all my power bars, but I remember seeing you on the podium, and we went.
No, that was the year. Yeah, I won all my power bars that year.
Oh, okay, yeah, nice. And we went up to this rooftop place, and you knew everybody. You're like the mayor of Knoxville that day somehow.
For one day only.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. And now,
thank you.
Look how far you've come. You're going to Kona this year.
I am.
Yeah.
It's been a long haul. Long way from 2016, that's for sure.
No kidding, man.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea back then that you're going to be a Kona person?
No. I didn't know until probably 2017. I did a lot of Ironmans, as Robbie likes to yell at me for. I did 3 that year. And so when that put me at 6, right then I was like, all right, we're going for this now. I mean, we're this close. We got to make the push. So before that, I'd done 1 a year. I'd had 3 before that year. So it was like, no big deal. Sure, it's out there, but I didn't think I was going for it. And then circumstances and Ironman marketing and other different things. And I signed up for the 3rd race that year. And I was like, all right, let's just do this. So then we pushed.
Yeah, you've been pushing hard, man.
Yeah, it was 2 a year after that. And then pandemic stuff. And then races were canceled. And I probably turned 3 races into 4 different races just by stuff getting deferred. So we kept pushing out, and then Ironman split the men and women. I was supposed to be in Kona last year. And so Nice sounds nice, but it wasn't what I've been dreaming of for 10 years. So I took the deferral, and I get to go race with 2 other coaches, Parker and CJ. And I've told them both that after they shower to come back and watch me finish. So it'll be good.
Exactly right. Well, you never know.
No, I never know.
Is Parker doing it?
Yeah, Parker's doing it. He qualified at Madison.
I know
with
he
you
did
guys last year.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
So would you recommend doing 3 in a year?
Physically it wasn't that bad. Mentally, I was gassed. I was spent. Like, it was just the last 2 were only 8 weeks apart, And the third one was my fastest I'd ever done to date. So physically I was there, and it was a hot, windy day in Cozumel that day. But yeah, physical was good, but my brain was mush. I needed the break afterwards and just not train and not think of the next Ironman. So it just depends on the person, I'd say.
Okay. Well, so your last one was your fastest?
That year, yeah.
Hang on, I'm texting you. I might as well just tell you. I think you're leaning on the desk and the camera's moving or something.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. I won't do that.
I was going to text you, but here we are. Let's just as casual, man. So anyway, okay. So, well, that's interesting. So what did you do between the second and the third one? Were you doing a lot, or were you just kind of trying to recover mostly?
Well, ironically, right after the second one, which was Chattanooga, was when I came on with Robbie. The plan was to start in January, but my coach that I had at the time, we just kind of weren't on the same page. And so I reached out to Robbie and said, let's start this early. I said, here's where I'm at, see what you can do with it. And we basically just maintained. There was not a lot of build. It was just, don't get injured, make sure you can get to the start line. Clearly the fitness from the year will do a lot. So yeah, it was not very focused. It was just keep doing the day to day and get the volume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then, it turned out to work all right.
Yeah, no kidding. So how does that differ from what you got going now? I mean, you're going for Kona. I mean, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Podium shot.
Oh God, no. I've told my wife and everyone that my goal is make them wonder if I'm legacy or not. Okay, so I don't want it to be painfully obvious that, oh, he's legacy because he's, way back at the back. I want them to wonder. So as long as it's not obvious, I did what I wanted. And so, I mean, there's always, the pie in the sky goals, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry for not knowing this, but what have you done this year other than train for Kona? Are you just all in on Kona?
No, you're fine. A few of us did Oceanside.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Parker and Kevin and a few others. And then that was it. And I've been fighting some saddle issues. So my riding's been a little less than I'd hoped for the last 2 or 3 months. So we're trying to get that fixed. Running and swimming are good. I'm just throwing volume at it. And then I'll be with almost every C26 teammate at Louisville in August. That's only 2 hours away, which is nice. Mm-hmm. And I figured it was the perfect scenario to replicate Kona. Hot, humid, Louisville, August. I think will go a lot way to tell me how I'm going to do in the heat of Hawaii.
Yeah, no kidding. And we should. So tell everybody where you're at, because it's 2 hours from Louisville. So.
Yeah. So west side of Indianapolis, born and raised. Love it here. Would love to be a mountain man once I retire, but for now, Indiana's cheap and easy, and it's where all my friends and family are. So, well, a lot of my family anyway.
Yeah.
So, it's good.
And that's where Evan buys from.
Yeah, correct. And the Indianapolis Indians.
Exactly. Man, one of these days I'll take you down there for the royal treatment. At what's it called now? It's not Busch.
Victory Field. Victory Field, yeah.
So, okay. So, Louisville it is. And then how many, what is it, like a month from there?
No, 2. Probably 10 weeks.
Oh, it's 10 weeks?
Yeah, August 18 to October 26th.
Oh, that's right. Because because I was always thinking, shit, that's right by Wisconsin. But no, it was by the old Louisville same day, right? Remember?
It used to be, but then for some reason Kona's 2 weeks later than it's ever been. Like it's usually the 14th, 15th. So you're right in that. It's even later than usual. I don't know the why. I hope it means it's cooler, but I don't think 2 weeks in Hawaii is going to do much for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Maybe it can. So, I can't keep up with that. You know me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So talk about your coaching, man. Let's as a coach, what kind of things maybe have you got from being with the C20? How long has it been? I didn't realize that was the year you joined with Robbie.
Yeah, this will be
it's been a minute.
7 years.
Yeah.
7 years, yeah.
Okay.
So it's been great. I feel like there's a lot more to just doing the daily than there is to having awesome days every day. As long as you're putting in the work and getting it done, it doesn't have to be the home run type deal, but it just is helpful that it's happening. It's good to just step outside, do the work. Like, you don't need to be Jan Frodeno every day. Yeah. So,
well, I think that, you know, talking about going from your second to third Ironman is kind of that proof of that in a way. I mean, you just said you're kind of maintaining and doing your business, and then you end up having a great race.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, fitness is fitness, like we say. And if you're, there's no better way than to just do it, you know, on a daily, really, you know, just be in on the program. Cause we have a lot, you know, including me, where, you know, take a week off here and there, you know, and you kind of have highs and lows. And, you know, if you kind of land on the right day with the right energy and shit like that, you might have a good race. But I think for the most part, if you're just like, you know, consistent and doing your thing. Before we move ahead, you mentioned that you have some saddle issues, and I just, for me and for other people that I know, like, what kind of things are you doing about that? And are you refitting, or is it just something that's just?
Yeah. So I've been on the same saddle for 7 years, so this was kind of a surprise. And I went through most of the spring build and was fine, and then right before Oceanside, it started getting really bad. Ocean, you can survive a 70.3. You're not comfortable, but you can get through it. And it's so hilly that you're not narrow very much anyway. So came back, saw my fitter. We talked about a few things and we tried some saddles, but it wasn't working too well. I've also tried the bi-saddle, the one where each side is independently movable, left and right. I had a few friends and former teammates really suggest that one. So I'm trying that one as well. And I've gone as far as, a steroid shot, because what I've got kind of perplexed the doctor at first. He said he'd never seen it before, and just a general doc, but it's called biker's nodule, and it's not like a sore. We're going to get not too gross, but it doesn't open or anything. It's just, it gets angry. And so it's not fun. So I rode 2 hours the other day. It wasn't too bad. Hopefully the steroid's taking shape and we can get it in, because I got to get my butt on the bike. Yeah,
no kidding, man. I hate that. I hate to hear that.
So
as you coach, what kind of things, you know, do you like to see from your athletes, like, that make you feel good, you know, like have the progress or things like that? What kind of things are you seeing from some athletes that just really makes it, you know, kind of rewarding to be a coach? And
so it's the same that we find for ourselves, right? I love to see the consistency that I know works for me. And if they're just putting in the work every day, or not even every day, give me 80 to 90% of the week and hit them or come close or try. Those mean a lot. And I had an athlete PR half marathon, and the text I got was, "You're not so bad at this coaching thing."
Oh, nice.
And that was awesome. I mean, that's what we're doing this for, is I want to hear that I'm not letting them down, but I want to hear that they're finding the value in it and they're progressing and things are going well. And so now I just hope she doesn't beat me at Louisville, but I don't think I can stop that if I wanted to.
Nah, that'll be good. You can let her win at Louisville, but then you can, you know, show out at Kona.
Right.
You can't be great on everything. So your style as a coach, it sounds like you might have just defined it a little bit, but supportive. I mean, where are you going with this? Are you?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
compare yourself as an athlete. I mean, you're hard on yourself, I feel like.
I am. I don't know that I've had good days as an athlete. I don't know if I've had the great day. I don't know if any athlete has a day they'd call perfect. Everyone, I mean, we're all mostly type A people that can find something we wish was better, or maybe my transition was 30 seconds faster, stuff that in the grand scheme doesn't matter, but we can all find things we'd like to improve on. I think as a coach, I like just seeing it's rewarding when they've bought in, when your athlete has bought into what you're doing. Because when you first start, and I have a few athletes that have never done any of this, it's hard to see through the trees. I feel like they're just like, well, we're just running for an hour. We're just biking for 2 hours. It's like, what is the point of this? It's like, we've just, you know, as Robbie says, you got to build the chassis or the base layer of the cake, or any of his fantastic analogies. You've got to do that long work, and then you can start sharpening the point and as you get closer to a race, it starts making more sense, I feel like, because you're able to do all the harder things that aren't just volume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
right. Hey,
yeah.
Is that an embroidery machine over there that I'm looking at?
So my wife was gracious enough to let me use her office, which is also her sewing room.
Okay.
We've got machines everywhere. I mean, I call it the sweatshop, and she'll kill me for saying it, but
she's the only one sweating in there. You're not doing anything.
No, I would reckon probably put needles through my finger and all this other stuff. So we don't need that.
But you work in a tough environment, I feel like.
Yeah. So I've been in August will be 20 years that I've worked in a steel mill, just west of Indianapolis. Something I never thought I'd do at all, let alone for 20 years. But
right.
It pays the bills. It lets me, do all the fun stuff outside. I've always said I don't necessarily love my job, but I love what it allows me. Mm-hmm. So it's important to have the balance, and, loving your job would be amazing. I think that's rarefied air of someone who absolutely loves their job, or maybe it just is because I don't. But they've been good to me for 20 years, so I keep going back.
Right, which is great, man. I mean, you have some great stories about it. We don't have to get into that now, but it's just interesting. I find it interesting what you do, and I feel like it probably, because I know you as a athlete and a racer, and I feel like, you probably I'm sure that transfers a little bit, just kind of grinding it out a little bit, literally. Almost.
Yeah. The mental fortitude, I hope, gains a bolster from that. I think I'm hoping right now that the heat acclimation is working, because it's warm in a steel mill.
Yeah, so that was right. Yeah.
And then the schedule, the schedule's hard. I work 4 12s, and then I have 4 days off, which is great. Mm-hmm. But then I work 4 nights of 12-hour shift, 9 to 9. So every other week I switch days to nights. So it's difficult. But then on my 4 days off, when everything's working well, I can really hammer the workouts and make up for lost time.
Yeah.
Because I can't get much done on a 12-hour work shift.
Yeah.
There's not many hours left.
Well, you're probably good at juggling schedules for people if they need it. You're very attuned to that.
That's what I like to think. There's an understanding there, because I've done it for so long. So it helps to, as long as they're upfront about the reality of what they're going through and what they have available, you can make anything work, I think.
Mm-hmm. What is it about the C26 community that has, kept you around and then wanted you to represent as a coach?
Yeah, it's the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, or something like that. It's amazing. The people that you and Robbie have attracted to this group have been just amazing. I've met some of my very dearest and best friends. People who just reach out and not talk racing. I mean, they're just friends, and it has nothing to do with the sport, and it's nothing to do with racing. It's just, I care about this person, they care about us, and it's as much. And Robbie and I get along great and have a great relationship as coach and athlete. It's the people, and I'm sure it's not the first time you've heard it. The people in this group are just so good, and I can't imagine. I don't need to leave, because I have a great relationship again with Robbie, but I can't imagine leaving this group of people. And it's not like they go away, but it's still, you have that camaraderie, and you have the team thing going on behind it. So it's just, everyone is genuine. Everyone is just truly fantastic and will do anything for you. And that's what's great. Yeah.
That's a good point, man. I was thinking back to that day when we did meet, and I think we had started the podcast then, but it was very infant.
No,
we hadn't.
No, about 6 months later, I got a message from you saying, "Hey, my buddy and I just started this podcast." So yeah, I don't think you'd started it yet.
Oh, I had the blog and everything going. That's
okay, yeah. So, but just after.
Yeah. Is that really? I saw you emailed you and told you. Hey, that's what I talk about, organic growth, man.
Real streets.
Yeah. We were down and dirty, man. Hey, buddy. We started a podcast.
Hey, pal, I met once.
Okay, yeah. So then you started listening, and then I feel like I saw you again after that, or I don't know. But
I think I saw you at Louisville 17, maybe.
Okay.
You might have been there. Yeah, and it was
I was there
most people
for sure.
talk about was it was a passive interview. I got to listen to you guys for almost a year before I signed on with Robbie, and I knew what I needed to know. I heard all the theories and where he stood on things and how he approached training and coaching, and I knew it's what I was missing and needed. And so yeah, it was easy from my end to sign on. So
Yeah, and here you are.
Here we are.
How many camps later, probably, you know?
I'm not the every camper, but I've probably done 5 or 6.
Yeah.
A few run camps, a few tri camps.
Yeah.
So a little bit of everything. So Madison camp coming up here in a few weeks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You're going to be here.
Yep.
That's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah. Looking forward to it.
Are you?
Oh yeah.
You're going to impart some wisdom. So you've raced Madison once. Yeah.
Yeah. 2019.
And,
yeah, whatever I have to share.
Yeah.
I feel like my strength is more the Robbie jokes about the tech side, and I love the tech of the sport, and like course. I'm always the guy that has to go out and recon a course. Like if I've never seen it, I will drive it before race day, and I don't know if it does me any good, but it makes me feel better. So
yeah,
and I like knowing, you know, what corners are gross and what corners aren't, and where you go fast and be confident and stuff like that. I feel like it helps a little. It doesn't change my day, but it makes me feel better anyway.
Well, no, I mean, wait, are you the kind of guy that leans out the window and looks for gravel and shit like that?
No,
like
no.
This was Starkey used to do. But, I mean, sometimes I remember driving the Madison course before I had ever seen it or raced it, and it kind of threw me in a pickle, man. I mean, because it was like
too much. Yeah,
I mean, it just always seems a little bit more daunting in a car to me for some reason. You know, I don't know why that is, but yeah. So, well, but it's a good thing that's kind of what I want to do with this camp is you know, you can't, if you haven't done it, you know, you can ride it once or twice, and you don't really, I didn't, like, I still don't remember it. I know it now because I've done it so many times, but even still, you know, once through, but I think it's important to kind of recon it in the sense of, you know, it's just not a normal ride, you know, and so we want to kind of try to figure out ways to help people, you know, perform better based on, you know, the turns and how to handle hills and things like that. But so I'll give you the floor up there.
I'll take it and try not to put anybody to sleep.
Yeah, no, you're an entertaining guy, man. So I'm not worried about that. Any other things that you'd like to say about yourself, or, you know, how, you know, what an athlete can expect from you as a coach?
Yeah. So, it's, as a coach, I try to not bore anyone, because you got to have some engagement there, but it's not going to be some brand new exciting thing every day. We'll go through cycles. We have to see what it looked like a month ago and maybe what the same workout looks like today. And we see growth that way, and we know what's going on and what we need to work on. I feel like it's, it's just, I don't know. For me, it's such a fun sport. I'd wanted to get into coaching for a few years now. I think you and I had talked about it, and Robbie and I had talked about it. And then when this opportunity came about, it was just something that I was really jones to try and see if, you know, there was any traction in me doing this as something to help other people.
Well, that works for me, man. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully this helps you and helps some people find you. And it's been a great time as always. I enjoy your company, and I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. Up here in Madison, one of the greater cities there is. Now, when you race Madison, what Madison will this be for you? This will be my sixth Madison. You're halfway to Kona just at Madison. Well, it'll be my 11th race. Dude. Kona 2028 for Mike Tarrolly. If I qualify, I'll do it.
Come on, there's no shame in legacy. That's how I'm going.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying what I've set out for me.
Yep.
I made legacy. Can you decide, like, if you have 20 and be like, yeah, all right, I'm going to backdoor into the legacy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I may decide down the road, but for now, I still have my sights high.
There you go.
Plus I'm in an older age group. It should be easier for me.
That's
well,
what
I don't know about
and then I
easy.
see these results, and it never gets easier.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I think I always think for my age group, podium seems possible, but I think I'd have to win it, and whoever wins it is usually like at least an hour and a half ahead of me. So it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm 45, 49, so I'm still looking at 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a top 20%, top 30% athlete. I'm not stellar, but I have solid days.
Yeah.
But I'm getting just walked by these guys that can throw down 8:30s and 9 hours in my age group, and it's ridiculous.
Isn't that something, man?
It's inspiring.
Yeah, it is
ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean really, I think it just boils down to sacrifice. A lot of times, they're probably been putting it in, they, for years. And it's just showing up. And you're right. I mean, I've always said it's because I'm habitually in the top, right around 20% too, same type of deal. But to get in the top 5 is like night and day. 10 to 20 is kind of almost reasonable. But then when you get up to there, it's just like next level shit.
Yeah, the curve ramps up mightily.
Yeah, it does. It does. And then you'll really see that curve out in Kona.
If I'm close enough to it.
Hey, if we can get you in that 15 percentile, dude, I will be super stoked.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
So it'll be fun either way. It's, I got to go watch the women last year, and it was amazing to see it and kind of get the nerves out before I had to race it, which was nice.
Oh, that's right. You are a recon guy, man. You went out a year before and.
Well, yeah, long story there too, but yeah, we ended up going this year, so it was fun.
All right, buddy. Well, it's been a pleasure, man, and I will see you in a few weeks. In the meantime.
Sounds great, Mike.
All right, buddy. Have a great 4th of July.
Yep. Thanks, man. You too.
See you, man. Hang on.
Bye.